All right, let's dive into one of the most heated debates in modern society, the death penalty. Is it justice, deterrence, or simply revenge? I've been pouring through some of the top arguments on both sides, so let's break down what makes each tick, where the cracks show, and ultimately, which side has the stronger foundation. First up, from the University Library's Death Throes. This article lays out the anti-death penalty stance, focusing on moral grounds. It hits hard with the claim that the state shouldn't have the right to take a life. Full stop. It backs this up with the risk of executing innocent people, plus research suggesting the death penalty doesn't really deter crime. The strengths? It's emotionally resonant and it draws on real-world mistakes from the justice system. But, structurally, it leans a lot on the assumption that all life is equally sacred, something not everyone accepts. Plus, while the risk of wrongful execution is terrifying, it doesn't directly address whether the death penalty is ever justified in extreme cases. Now, let's flip to Gregg v. Georgia, the landmark Supreme Court decision that reaffirmed the death penalty, at least under certain guidelines. The pro-death penalty logic here centers on constitutionality and the idea that the death penalty, when applied carefully, isn't cruel and unusual punishment. It also argues that society has a legitimate interest in retribution and deterrence. This argument is structurally strong because it's rooted in legal precedent and addresses due process, but it can feel a bit clinical, almost detached from the emotional and moral dimensions. Plus, the deterrence claim is controversial. Studies are mixed, and the article doesn't fully resolve that uncertainty. Next, the excerpts from Supreme Court justices. Here, I get a mix of perspectives. Some justices argue that the death penalty is fundamentally flawed due to racial bias and arbitrary application. Others defend it as a reflection of democratic values and societal outrage at heinous crimes. The structural strength here is the diversity of legal reasoning, but the weakness is just how divided these opinions are, even at the highest court. There's no clear consensus, which makes the argument feel fragmented. Finally, the European Union Memorandum. This one's fascinating because it looks at the death penalty from a human rights angle. The EU outright opposes it, arguing that abolition is a marker of civilized society. This argument is powerful on a global scale, but it relies heavily on shared values that don't necessarily translate everywhere. Structurally, it's sound if you buy into the EU's human rights framework, but that's a big if. So who has the stronger argument? Honestly, the anti-death penalty side edges ahead, not just for moral reasons, but because their argument is more adaptable. It acknowledges human error, addresses systemic flaws, and aligns with a growing international consensus. The pro side has legal tradition on its side, but feels less responsive to the realities on the ground. Debate settled? Not quite, but the weight of evidence tilts toward abolition. What do you think? Drop your thoughts below. I want to hear your take.